Stop before you scroll past this episode. I need you to know that Games Workshop just announced so many video games that I had to take a 15-minute walk and call my mother. Bellum released so much cavalry that Alberta has filed a formal noise complaint. Welcome to the Miniature Misinformer podcast, episode 22, the only tabletop news show hosted by someone who has more unpainted miniatures than finished thoughts. Tonight's episode answers 3 questions nobody asked but everyone needs. 1. At what point does a miniature company become a streaming service? 2. Can you legally field an entire army made of weather patterns? And 3. Why does an unopened box of tactical space marines have the same energy as a cursed artifact? Stay seated. We're going in. This week's hobby scandals. Games Workshop, the company that started by selling tiny metal men you'd glue together and immediately lose on the carpet, has officially transcended the miniatures hobby. This week, Skulls 2026, a 48-minute video showcase, 10 Years of Skulls, hosted by Alana Pierce and packed with enough content to make your wish list legally qualify as a second mortgage. Partial list of announcements. Partial. Boltgun 2. Yes, there are now 2 Boltguns. Mechanicus 2, because one robot prayer simulator wasn't enough. Chaos Gate Deathwatch, a sequel nobody saw coming, dropping like a plasma bolt from deep orbit. Speed Freaks on PS5 and Xbox. Crossplay, level editor, enough wagons to require separate insurance. Total War Warhammer returned to Chronos. Starting September 17th, the war that never ends. Warhammer Classics on Steam. Nothing heals the soul like loading a 2003 RTS at 4 a.m. And a Secret Lab gaming chair, Dark Angels Edition, with a detachable purity seal. A tabletop miniature company just sold you a chair with scripture on it that you can remove. I have never felt more seen as a consumer demographic in my life. At current trajectory, by 2028, Games Workshop releases Warhammer 40k Home Renovation Simulator, where an administratum clerk battles demons armed only with a tape measure, unpermitted drywall, and 3 contractors who keep saying, "We'll be there Thursday." They will not be there Thursday. Boltgun 2 and the Darktide Skitarii, a 2-for-1 scandal. 2 more skulls revealed worth your attention. Boltgun 2 confirmed with Alana Pierce, your Skulls host, is also voicing Battle Sister Neria Virath. She mentioned she's reading Warhammer since the age of 13, which means she has better lore knowledge by puberty than most people will have by retirement. The game is high-speed boomer shooter violence in retro graphics, doom in a habit, chanting litanics of hatred while 16-bit organ music plays. It also is coming to a mobile in 2026 on your phone. During your dentist appointment, the waiting room will never be the same. Darktide is getting Skitarii class. The developers described it as cryptic, flexible, lore accurate. The art director said genuinely that the stakes are high because Skitarii are a very important part of the lore. The commitment to making a co-op horde shooter feels like a theological experience is deeply admirable. It means players will soon replace 87% of their body with UBS-adjacent augmetics, chant at printers before using them, and die instantly because someone forgot to ping the sniper. The guy who spec'd into Incensed Density will be top DPS. This is not speculation. This is prophecy. This week's Community Watch. Let's check in with Bellum Wargames, the company that looked at their rank and flank game and thought, what if we just keep making cavalry until someone stops us? Nobody has stopped them. This week, 4 cavalry kits across 3 factions. 4 in 1 week. Historical wargamers are face down on the floor, Age of Sigmar players are quietly taking notes. Someone at Cavalry Anonymous just called an emergency session. The Madrid Lancers, water elemental cavalry that flows around terrain, ignore line of sight, and perform something called the stoic erosion action to carve away enemy defenses. As someone who once lived in Montreal, who has watched the spring melt turn the backyard into an inland sea every April, this is less fantasy army and more accurate simulation of my previous property. Where knights select their season at muster, gaining flurry, cleave, and deadly blades accordingly. Canadian players immediately ask, what happens during construction season? Parabellum has not responded. The answer is probably cleave plus road closures. The Fianna cavalry hides in forests, stalk prey unseen, and strike when the moment is perfect. Terrifying, unless you're Canadian. Because here, anything lurking unseen in the woods is either a moose, a goose with deeply personal grievances, or a middle-aged man explaining why he stopped buying Citadel paints in 2009. All three will ruin your afternoon. Parabellum also dropped the Old Dominion one-player starter, Bone Golems Cataphractoi, Paradomoi, Mounted Stragos, Hierodeacon character. Over €65 in saving versus buying separately. One small note, a June update will make this warband legally playable, which means you currently buy a complete starter army that is not yet rules legal. Bold strategy. Most companies at least pretend the rules exist first. And the Dwedge Home starter, 61 miniatures, Hold Warriors, Dragon Slayer, Ballistae, Hold Thanes, and a new Hold Rail character. Nothing in tabletop gaming is more dangerous than a dwarf with siege equipment and unresolved emotional issues. The Dragon Slayers woke up one morning and decided the apex predator of the fantasy world was simply the problem to solve today. That specific unhinged confidence is the most powerful army ability in the game. Brush tips nobody asked for. Tip 1. If your metallic paint separates instantly after shaking, congratulations. You now own Citadel almond milk. Store it near the fridge. Tip 2. Stop licking your brush. You are not maintaining a fine point. You are slowly becoming Leadbelcher flavored Wolverine. Tip 3. If your hobby chair squeaks every time you lean forward, that is not wear and tear. That is your chair begging you to finish one model before opening another combat patrol. The chair knows. Tip 4. Painting eyes on infantry is easy. Step 1. Nail the first eye perfectly. Step 2. Ruin the second eye in a way that defies physics. Step 3. Call it battle trauma. Step 4. Receive compliments on how gritty it looks. You didn't fail. You improvised. And now a word from our sponsors. Tired of waiting 12 minutes for a wash to dry while your enthusiasm pools into the carpet? Introducing the Citadel Rapid Cure Hobby Air Fryer Trademark Incorporated. Features include McCrag Blue Crisp Mode, non-oil convention setting, circulates warm regret at 350 degrees, and the contrast paint catastrophic recovery basket. A catch tray for your dignity. Every unit randomly emits the faint smell of burnt plastic and discontinued model grief. Ruin an entire squad in under 6 minutes. Available in Adamas Grey and Corax White. Not available in Finecast. Are you directionalists? Do you own more than 6 unstarted armies, speak in metaphors about the plan coming together, and have a contrast pot you've been saving for the right project since 2021? You may be eligible for Trasgnar Mindset Trademark Incorporated coaching. Our chaos-adjacent life coaches will help you manifest your painting goals, develop positive mutation habits, and explain to your partner why the new cavalry dual kits was actually a financially sound decision. First consultation is free. Additional eyes build per session. Tagzinar Mindset Trademark Incorporated. Fate is just a hobby backlog with better PR. Events and exposés. Games Workshop continues rolling out 11th edition faction focus previews. The dominant theme across every single faction: stealth, detection, hidden, anti-detection, counter, hidden detection. We now have factions that require a marker phase, a detection phase, an anti-detection declaration, a sub-phase to reveal hidden units, and a laminated flowchart for you to keep in your dice bag just to go on second. Thousand Sun players describe the new ritual system as straightforward once you internalize the 17-step psychic accounting protocol. Orc players read their faction focus, saw battle wagons auto-advance 6 inches, understood everything, closed the browser, and left the room. That's game design efficiency. Local hobby store incident report. A store owner in Toronto reports that a single unopened box of Tactical Space Marines has remained on the shelf since 2021. Staff say it cannot be sold, not moved, not touched. Customers report hearing faint whispers near it. After closing, firstborn, firstborn, firstborn. A Games Workshop representative reportedly visited, made eye contact with the box, and left without speaking. The local diocese has been notified. Jail dice overcrowding crisis. Dice jails across North America have reached critical capacity following failed charges, impossible armor saves, and a catastrophic Canadian tournament incident involving triple snake eyes during a maple syrup raffle. Authorities recommend rehabilitation, except for that 1d20. You know what you did. Rotating minigame. Roll to see your fate. Roll a d6. No take-backs. The dice sees your soul. 1. The Great Spill. You knock over your paint water. It lands with supernatural precision on the limited edition book. Not the mat. Not the newspaper you placed specifically for this. Just the book. Begin again. 2. The Meta Chaser. You bought the strongest army in the meta. A Monday FAQ dropped. Your centerpiece unit now folds to moderately aggressive language. A content creator says, actually, this is a buff. You are alone. 3. The Ascension. You finish a squad, a base, a backlog project. For 3 minutes, you feel hobby peace. Then Games Workshop announces a refresh. You are already on the web store. 4. The Dice Betrayal. Your opponent fails 16 armor saves and remains calm. You attempt a 9-inch charge. You roll a 3 and a 2. Your opponent says nothing. They don't need to. 5. The Golden Goblin. You find an unopened kit from years ago. It's out of print. It's tripled in value. You hold this information for 4 seconds, then you open it. You are a hobbyist. This is simply who you are. 6. Canadian Grandmaster. You table your opponent by turn 3. You both apologize. You go for coffee. Nobody mentions the score. This is the strongest faction ability in tabletop gaming. It cannot be nerfed. Predictions and closing remarks. Games Workshop announces a new detachment involving a keyword simply called Observed. Nobody agrees on what it does. A Horus Heresy player explains reaction mechanics unprompted in a comment section. The thread hits 47 replies. Nobody asked. Bellum announces another cavalry kit. The lore uses the word inevitable. They are not wrong. a major Warhammer YouTube channel post is Warhammer dying? It gets 1.4 million views. The creator buys a new army on Tuesday. And somewhere in a basement in Shikumi, a man opens his 11th edition Faction Focus, reads about line of sight changes, and whispers to nobody in particular, maybe this is the edition. It isn't, but we'd love him for believing. That's all for episode 22 of the Miniature Misinformer podcast. Thin your paints, trust no dice, and if someone says they only need one more army, they are already on the website. Good night, hobby goblins. May your wash pools correctly, your cavalry arrive legally, and your pile of shame remain structurally non-load bearing. For now.